Welcome to the enchanting world of Hoot and Howl, two adorable owl siblings who are about to take you on a magical nighttime adventure. Hello there, I'm Alex, and I am thrilled to introduce you to a whimsical forest where the real fun begins when the sun goes down. You see, while most creatures are fast asleep, our feathered friends Hoot and Howl are just waking up, ready to explore the wonders that only come alive under the moonlight. And let me tell you, these owls have seen some pretty incredible things. Now, picture this, a cozy, glowing forest bathed in soft blues and purples, twinkling stars peeking through the canopy, and two wide-eyed owls perched on a branch, peering into the darkness with excitement. That's where our adventure begins, folks. First up, let's meet our dynamic duo. There's Hoot, the older and wiser sibling. Hoot's the kind of owl who likes to think things through, always with their trusty old book of forest facts tucked under a wing. Then we have Howl, the younger and more energetic of the two. Howl's the owl who'd rather dive headfirst into adventure and ask questions later. Together, they make quite a team. Now, let me tell you about some of the curious cases these nighttime detective owls have solved. There was this one time when the owls stumbled upon a patch of glowing flowers deep in the nighttime forest. Hey kids, could you imagine? Flowers that light up like tiny lamps. Hoot, the curious owl being the cautious one, wondered if it was some kind of magic. To solve this mystery, the owls called on their old pal, Flicker the firefly. Flicker buzzed around the flowers, his own light blinking in curiosity. After some careful investigation and a bit of Howl trying to eat one of the flowers, don't worry, Walker the wolf stopped them in time. They discovered the truth. These flowers weren't magical at all, but is a fascinating example of sparkling, glowing, sweet-smelling essence that attracted fireflies at night. Hoot the owl excitedly flipped through their book, explaining how some organisms can produce their own light. Howl the owl just thought it was cool that nature had its own night lights. But that's not all. Oh no! Another night, as our owl pals were swooping through the trees, they heard the strangest sound. It was a low, gentle humming coming from an old oak tree in the forest night air. Now, trees don't usually hum, at least not in my experience. As the owls got closer, the humming grew louder in the quiet nighttime forest. Hoot the owl carefully peeked into a knothole. And do you know what the owls found together? A whole orchestra of tiny crickets. These little musicians of tiny crickets had set up shop inside the tree, using its hollow trunk as a natural amplifier for their nightly concert. Howl the owl was a bit disappointed it wasn't a magical tree spirit, but soon enough, they were playing along with the cricket symphony. Oh, and we can't forget about the night of the falling stars. Hoot and Howl, the cute, adorable owls, were perched on the highest branch of their favorite tree with their friend Drawl, gazing up at the night sky, when suddenly whoosh! A bright light streaked across the darkness. Quick! Hoot! Howl the owl hooted excitedly to Hoot the owl. Let's catch a star! And off they flew, racing through the air with their wings outstretched, trying to grab the elusive celestial object. After a wild chase that left them both a bit dizzy and Howl was a beak full of leaves from an unfortunate collision with a bush, they landed on a nearby cliff. There, the owls found their wise old friend, Barnaby the bear. Barnaby the bear explained that what they saw wasn't actually a star at all, but a meteor, a space rock burning up as it entered Earth's atmosphere. Hoot the Owl was fascinated, and he kept asking Barnaby the Bear tons of questions about space and astronomy. Howl the Owl, meanwhile, was a little sad they couldn't catch a real star, but decided that chasing meteors was pretty fun too. Now, let me tell you about the curious case of the moon pond. Deep in the heart of the forest, there's a hidden pond so still and clear that on a cloudless night, it perfectly reflects the moon and stars. It's like a second sky right there on the forest floor. Hoot and Howl love to visit this magical spot, watching the underwater stars twinkle and ripple. But one night, the owls arrived to find the moon pond dark and empty. The moon and stars above were shining brightly, but their reflections had vanished. Howl the Owl dramatically declared it must be the work of a moon-stealing monster, while Hoot the Owl calmly suggested they investigate further. As the owls circled the pond, Hoot noticed something odd. A group of water lilies had bloomed, covering much of the water's surface. At nighttime, these beautiful white lotus flowers were blocking the reflection. Mystery solved, right? Well, not quite. You see, white water lotuses usually close up at night. So why were these ones wide awake? Our clever owls soon discovered a family of nighttime moths living among the lotuses. These flowers could change colors too. These special moths only came out at night, and the lotuses stayed open to welcome them. It was a perfect partnership. The moths got nectar, and the lotuses got pollinated. Imagine a lotus flower has tiny powder, and the powder would get stuck on the moss. Now the moss would be carrying the tiny powder and go from lotus to help it grow more seeds. They were helping the pink lotus to create more lotuses. Hoot and Howl, the cute, adorable nighttime owls, were thrilled to learn about this nighttime nature collaboration, even if it meant saying goodbye to their mirror-like pond for a while. Oh, and we can't forget about Rascal, the cute, adorable raccoon magician in the nighttime forest. This clever, adorable, cute raccoon critter caused quite a stir in the forest with his disappearing firefly trick. Him and his family would do some really cool, amazing show for all the other critters to watch and learn from. One moment, a jar full of glowing fireflies in the nighttime forest would be there, and poof, the next second, it was empty. Howl the Owl was convinced Rascal the Raccoon had real magical powers, but Hoot the Owl suspected there might be more to the story. After watching the trick a few times in Howl the Owl's failed attempts to recreate it, Hoot the Owl noticed something interesting. Rascal the Raccoon figured out a way to open up the jar and let all the fireflies escape from the jar into the enchanted dark forest. Now, you might be wondering, Alex, how do you make a forest at night feel magical instead of scary? Alex said, well, let me paint you a picture. Imagine soft, glowing, blooming, colorful flowers lining the paths, their gentle light guiding the way in the nighttime forest. Fireflies dance through the air like tiny, living stars. The leaves of the trees shimmer with a faint, silvery glow in the moonlight. And everywhere you look, friendly nocturnal creatures peek out from hollow logs and leafy hideaways. The forest in Hoot and Howl's world is full of wonder, not fear. Even the shadows seem to dance playfully rather than loom ominously. A gentle melody of cricket chirps, owl hoots, and the soft rustling of leaves creates a cozy nighttime forest scenery atmosphere that makes you want to snuggle up and join in the adventure. Of course, No tale of Hoot and Howl would be complete without mentioning some of their silly mishaps. Like the time Howl the owl got a bit too curious about a particularly narrow tree hollow and ended up stuck. Its talons, that's what their feet is called, sticking out of a narrow tree hollow and muffled to owl hoots of help echoing inside. Or when Hoot the owl, in full professor mode, spent so long explaining the life cycle of a moth that they didn't notice the sun coming up until it was almost dawn. These moments of light-hearted fun balance out the mystery-solving and fact-learning, reminding us that even the wisest owl can sometimes end up with their feathers in a ruffle. It's all part of the charm of the owl's nighttime world. As our journey through this magical forest comes to an end, I hope you've enjoyed meeting the owls Hoot, Howl, and all their nocturnal neighbors. Remember, children, the next time you look up at the night sky while camping or hear a mysterious sound in the dark, there might just be a pair of curious owls out there, ready to uncover the wonders of the night. So, what do you think? Are you ready to join in on more exciting magical adventures with me and others? Let me know in the comments below what kind of nighttime mystery you'd like to see them solve next. And don't forget to subscribe to catch more wonderful, fantastical stories. Who knows? Maybe we'll discover why cats always land on their feet, or find out if the moon really is made of cheese. Spoiler alert. It's probably not. But Howl the owl would certainly like to try a bite. Thank you for joining me on this whimsical journey through the night forest. Until our next moonlit adventure, this is Alex, reminding you that sometimes the most magical discoveries happen when the rest of the world is fast asleep. Good night, and sweet dreams.